Well, howdy, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Lauren Muzyka Show, your favorite update in the battle for life, family, and freedom. Thanks again for hanging out with me once again. I'm Lauren Muzyka, attorney and human rights advocate, and I serve as president and CEO of Sidewalk Advocates for Life, the nation's largest peaceful sidewalk outreach organization. Okay, so at the March for Life this year, I met one of the most interesting people I've ever met in my entire life, and I'm not exaggerating. And that is the former leader of the pro-abortion feminist movement in Brazil, who is now Christian and pro-life. She once mobilized tens of thousands of women in support of abortion. And again, is now Catholic and pro-life. Sara Huff is her name, and I'm thrilled to bring her in for a conversation about what it was that changed her heart on this issue and so much more. So let me go ahead and introduce her. Sara Huff once fully embraced the feminist movement. At 22, during her peak activism for abortion rights, she became pregnant. Her friends convinced her that it was her responsibility to demonstrate empowerment through abortion. So she chose chemical abortion. And no one prepared Sara for the agony that followed. Desperate, she called her feminist friends for help. None came. But that night, her Catholic neighbor rushed her to the hospital. She was admitted to the ICU, where she spent weeks fighting for her life due to sepsis. Unfortunately, a very common story with chemical abortion. The feminist movement promised empowerment, but all she found was pain and betrayal. In contrast, after leaving the feminist movement, Sara felt lost, but the pro-life community welcomed her. They offered her emotional and even financial support, counseling, and guidance. Sara is now a Catholic Christian wife and mother, and she's sharing her story all over the world. So let's go ahead and welcome to the program, Sara Huff. Hey, Sara, how are you doing?
Hello, Lauren. I'm doing amazing, and thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, that's like quite a bio, right? There's a lot of story in there, so I can't wait to unpack more of your story with our audience. So let's go ahead and just start right here. How did you first become arguably the leader of the pro-abortion feminist movement in Brazil? What was your life like before you came to Christ?
Actually, to understand why I became a feminist, it's very important to understand my upbringing. So I came from a very dysfunctional family with one of my brothers, unfortunately, at a very young age of 14, he started to do drugs. And at the age of 20, he became one of the most violent narcos in my region, and me and my parents, we were under his violence for years. I am 11 years younger than him, so I was just a child. I couldn't respond for my actions or anything, and we grew up in a Catholic Christian family, although with all that violence towards us, me and my parents, drugs and everything, he will assault us, he will beat us up. It was a very bad context in a small town in São Paulo, Brazil. Unfortunately, that was the way I grew up. And I couldn't understand why exactly, if I was Catholic, if I was going to the Mass every single Sunday, if I was doing my catechism, my confirmation class, why I was suffering. I couldn't understand that. And no one could explain to me, like, if I'm doing everything right, why I keep suffering. Does God hate me? What's going on? And I developed such a bitterness towards God. And then at the age of 16, my brother, he kicked me out of my house. I started to live with some relatives, but I ended up living on the streets. And on the streets, I needed to become my own dad, my own mom, and watch myself. And I ended up in prostitution. And that was a huge mistake that I made, but I needed to eat, I needed to survive, I needed to pay for my studies. And I had a dream at that time, on my 16, it was to graduate in high school, because no one in my family had graduated before. So I wanted to be the first one. So I was struggling in school to keep it going. But I was, at the same time, I was exchanging my body for food, places to sleep.
Wow.
It was a very challenging period of my life. So I did that for almost 2 years. And at the age of 18, I was basically destroyed by my inside, by my outside. I was hating God. I was very bitter towards God. I was hating God because I couldn't understand why I was going through all that. Why I was seeing everybody's happy. Why wasn't I happy? I couldn't understand. I was hating all men, because every single man that had passed through my life, it was mean. I mean, my brother or my dad, that unfortunately was completely, he couldn't resolve that situation with my brother. God that I felt that had forsaken me, and all the men in prostitution. And I will also hate family, the family institution, because I will look around and everybody had a happy family but me. So when I turned 18, I was hating man, family, and God. I was hating everybody. I was really hurt. I was really hurt by everything that happened in my life. And in that context, I came to know the feminist movement. I was just reading the news, and I saw those beautiful women. They were young as my age. They were fighting for something that I had no idea what it was. But I mean, I started to go on the internet and see what feminism was, because I never heard about it before. And the internet, like Google, gave me such a beautiful definitions, like the fight for equality, people who understand the rape culture is bad, the sexual exploitation is bad, that assault, violence against women is bad. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is everything that I am going through. Maybe if I turn into this feminist thing, maybe it's an activist, I don't even know what was that. Maybe I will stop suffering. So I started to pursue that in a way that it will just, heal my wounds, heal all the suffering, all the bitterness that I had in my heart at that time. I was the perfect victim for the feminist movement, for the feminist activism. And I started to talk to them, and they were from Ukraine. The movement was called Femin. They still exist. They are often doing protests. They're known to do very highlighted, very controversial protests and topless around the world, and call attention for women's matter with that way. And I thought, well, they're doing something good. They're addressing women's problem, because women problems exist. And I know that because I'm living that. So maybe if I try to do that, I'm not suffering any longer. So they told me that you know what, you seem very qualified to be an activist. So we're going to sponsor your trip to Ukraine. You're going to come here. You're going to go through a whole training with us, and you can return to your country and you can start saving women's life. And I said, awesome. That's what I want.
Right.
I don't want to suffer anymore. And I don't want any other women suffer or go through the things I'm going through right now.
You can help them too now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's Lauren, something that I always tell people. I feel that most liberals, feminists, they are what they are because of a very special feeling, which is charity. They just don't know. They feel something wrong. They can see that the world it's going wrong, and they want to change something. They want to fix the issues, but they will be used as tools, political weapons. They will be so you know, used, or sometimes they don't even know, but they will use tools that are completely wrong. And that's exactly what it was doing. I wanted to do something good, but somehow this movement found me first, and they co-opted me. They just kidnapped me, not in a physical way, but in a cultural, in a mind warfare. They took me to Ukraine, and I was so happy that I thought, oh my goodness, now I can help women all around Brazil, all around my country.
Yeah.
So I got there, and I realized that it wasn't only me. There was, I don't know, maybe 40 other girls from all over the world: Argentina, Mexico, Spain, the US, Canada, France, Turkey, Netherlands, Germany, many European countries. And we had something in common. We were different shapes, different color, different, some of us, we will be very poor or wealthy, but we had something in common: a very hard upbringing, a very dysfunctional family. And Ukrainian people, they, to be very honest, I don't even know if they were Ukrainian, Russian. They will speak Russian with us all the time. They will speak between them Russian, I'm sorry, but with us, they will speak English.
Yeah.
And they will tell, what they did to us, it was completely unhuman. It was a brainwash. I thought that it would be there, just to write posters and learn how to make a crowdfunding maybe, or, battle cries and stuff like that. But no, they brainwashed us. They will repeat continuously, like, that we weren't individuals anymore. Now that we will be like soldiers of a revolution.
Wow.
And what revolution is that? Well, a revolution is when they will tell us it's when we want to change the world for better. Now women are suffering, minorities are suffering, homosexuals, transsexuals, they are suffering, and we need to do something about it. So we need to fight and be like soldiers to this revolution. So we will build we will destroy this world as we know, and we'll rebuild this world in a better way, where minorities can be happy, where they can be safe. And I thought, that's awesome. That's what I want.
Wow.
Who doesn't want a place where, every single person in the world will feel safe and happy? Everybody wants the right to pursue their happiness. And they will tell us that this thing called patriarchy, it was blocking everybody's happiness, and we will need to destroy that in many ways. So what they did to us, it was very cruel. They militarized us in different ways. Like, for example, there was the very first thing that they did to us, it was force us to throw in the garbage every single feminine thing that we had, like makeup or cute pajamas, hair stuff, hair bands that was feminine and cute. They made us throw in the garbage, and they made us to set fire on it.
Wow.
It's a ritual of what we know by femininity, this is just a trap made by patriarchy, and we need to destroy that because it's turning us into slaves. And they will spoke against motherhood and matrimony and all that. And they will explain to us how, especially the Catholic Church, but Christianity in general, it's the basis for women's and minority suffering. So it needs to be destroyed. And we will have to follow orders, that they will have strategies that they're building for the last decades, that they could destroy all that. And we were now agents to turn that in actions. And I thought, wow, that's amazing, because I had no parents anymore. I had no one. I was just a prostitute suffering, being constantly raped. I was very, very in a very bad place. And now I am important. I matter. They need me to change the world for a better place for vulnerable people. I am important.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And Sara, like, what I hear you saying is they took women from all over the world. I mean, I want everybody to hear that. Sara just listed off all of these different countries that this particular feminist movement brought together. And you said you noticed that in every case, pretty much, each woman had some sort of brokenness in her past.
Yes.
And they bring you in and they make you feel like there's an answer here. There's a remedy to your suffering. And not only that, but you're going to be helping people. And the enemy is marriage and the patriarchy and family and these oppressive things that make you feminist, right? And you have to destroy them in order to be okay. You have to dismantle whatever system it was that hurt you, right? And they're going to send you out to make a difference in the world. Is that a good summary?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they did to us. They did many other things. In another occasion, they put us like militaries like that.
Wow.
And it was horrible. We were completely naked for over 4 hours.
Wow.
In a room, extremely cold. And we will have to repeat, everybody in their own language, each one of us, I am a SLUT. I'm not going to say because I don't want to censor the podcast. And then
wow, no kidding.
Yeah. And at the beginning, it sounded so weird.
Yeah.
And they will be very violent towards us. If we laugh, they will beat us. They will kick us. They will slap us in the face. And I'm speaking about men. I'm not speaking about women. Towards the movement, behind the movement, it was pure men. Like older men in their 60s, in their 70s.
Older men were the leaders
Yes.
that were doing this in your midst.
And they will beat us up if we laugh or everything. And they will tell us that they were doing that because we needed to be stronger, because we will be beaten by the police, assaulted by the police in any way. So they were starting to do that so we could harsh ourselves.
Wow.
And be, and not struggle with that in the time that we will be protesting. And at the beginning, it sounded so weird, Lauren, because I don't think there's anything worse to call women than that.
Yeah.
But after 4 hours, to be very honest, it just sounded normal.
Interesting. They broke you down to build you up into what they wanted you to be and deal with.
They deprogrammed us and reprogrammed us. It's a technique that just now, it's been like 4 or 5 years, because that happened in 2012. And only 4 or 5 years ago, I came, I had a very good conversation with a professor, a college professor in intelligence and brainwashing, and he told me this is a technique of dehumanizing. They were dehumanizing and deprogramming to reprogram all of you. And we didn't know that. We thought that, it was very weird, but we were already there, and they were, I don't know how to say, but it's a feeling like now I had a family and friends. Yeah. I was belonging to something. I was part of something that I never had before. So, and they will constantly tell us this is necessary to build this revolution that we want. So we will, so that's not a problem, because we went from violent homes. So we couldn't recognize that violent is something good. So that's what I'm telling you. We were the perfect victims for that. I'm also, Lauren, not saying that every single feminist in America or all over the world have been trained in Ukraine. I'm telling that this is something that exists.
Yeah.
This is something. And many of these people like me who have been trained, and it doesn't matter the location, are the responsibles to shift the culture in the last 2 decades. So today, it might be not, trainings like that anymore. We don't know. But all the communities, all the Western, it's submitted, it's under a plan that people like that they done to me, they already done with these people. Like, they don't need to train anymore.
Wow.
All has been established through culture, to show business, to the educational system, and all that.
Yeah, this is part of the fabric of feminism, at least in one sense or another. How long were you there? And then how did you then go home and start leading this so-called revolution of feminism?
I've been there for 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Wow.
6 weeks. They did a lot to us. But when I came home, I realized that it was famous and I wasn't expecting that. They set up everything. They had contact and very good relationship with all the main mass media industry, like Reuters, Associated Press, EFE, and many I would like to say propaganda, but let's say mass media.
Yeah.
And when I landed in Brazil, I was a political celebrity. I was the most liberal celebrity in my country, and I wasn't expecting that. They told us that we will be doing interview. They taught us how to talk to the press. They gave us several media trainings, and it was all set up. A bunch of conference tours in colleges in Brazil. All the most famous TV shows, radio shows. So we had two main roles. First, I needed to go as the leader to the main shows, TV shows, and program people to hate Christianity, to talk about Christianity and patriarchy and all that as the reason of women's and minorities suffering. And once in the first 2-3 years that we be constantly doing that, then we will start the second phase of the project that will speaking about abortion. So Brazil is a very Catholic community. It's a Catholic country. So speaking about abortion there, and until nowadays, it's a big taboo. People don't think about that. They don't accept that, thank God. And it's illegal until nowadays. But in order to make something legal, so the strategy was we need to shift people's mind first and then started to talk about it. So it was this two things: hate, destroy Christianity, and start conversation about abortion. That's what I basically did through very big presence on the media and also with a lot of protests on the streets.
Wow. Unbelievable. So you went back home and you had basically like a step-by-step plan to try to turn your pro-life Catholic Christian country into a pro-abortion feminist hub, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Now, in the midst of this, you are living this out. You're now the top pro-abortion feminist celebrity of the entire country. I mean, that's mind-blowing to me, like everything that they had set up for you, right? And then you just were able to step right into it and lead from that perspective. But at one point, you found yourself pregnant. So tell me what happened next. You find out you're pregnant. What happens next?
I was scared and I was shocked. I knew that the life I was living at the time, I couldn't support a child. And I told my friends and I told people in Ukraine and I told my authorities, that's the way I will call that, like my bosses.
Wow.
And they basically said, you know what? You are the biggest feminist celebrity, liberal celebrity in this country. It's awesome that you're pregnant. So you just have to have an abortion because now we can use this as a fact that the biggest feminist celebrity in this country will have an illegal abortion. Don't worry. We will find you a doctor. She's very good. We know her. She performed over 700 abortions in the last 10 years. She knows exactly what she's doing. It's completely safe. This is the method that we want to legalize first. And you will have the honor to start that in the country because, women are dying because they're having an abortion and you need to do that. So they convinced me. That was something that I was already believing in it, but I didn't feel that I have even the option of carrying this child with me. It was a lot of pressure. And they said, and you know that whatever is inside your belly is not it's not a baby, is not a child, it's not a human being, it's just a clump of cells, a blood clot. It's just, don't worry, you're just gonna feel some period cramps, and then whatever you do, don't look at the toilet. Don't look in the toilet. That's very important, because you're not gonna like what you're gonna see. It's like just cramps and period, but don't look in the toilet. And of course, they offered me a chemical abortion because it's all over the world, and it's very important to disclose that abortion is illegal in Brazil, and the abortion I had, it was illegal. Although it was the same abortion that it's legal here in America. It was the same, it was performed with a doctor. It was the same pills, same chemicals, same substance, same amount of substance. So the only thing, I was doing something illegal, but it was exactly the same thing that they do here in America or in any other part of the world that people will perform a chemical abortion. And they told me that that was an act of empowerment, independence, freedom. To be very honest, Lauren, while I was going through that, because they told me, amazing things about abortion. And I used to say that people who thinks abortion is something good for women, they never got an abortion before.
Yeah.
That's impossible.
So true.
Because, it's not like you do like a poof in the woman's belly and then the baby, it's gone, disappeared. As I went through, any other woman who wants to go through an abortion, we're talking about a chemical abortion, will have to go through several hours of birth pain, of birth contractions, delivery pain. And no one talks about that. We're not talking here about menstrual period cramps. We are talking about the same pain that you will feel if you have been delivering a child.
Yeah, it's excruciating, right? I know.
It is.
Yeah, I know so many people have given that exact testimony, that the amount of blood loss, the pain, nothing compares to it. Even women who have given birth later in pregnancy have said, and have been through chemical abortion, have said that this was a horrific experience, right? So you felt like they lied to you, because they told you, oh, this is going to be a few period cramps. You won't be pregnant anymore. Just don't look at the toilet. It'll be fine. But what you experienced was very different, right?
It was completely different. And they told me many times. And of course, educational system in all the West, it's just terrible today, because I don't understand how. I was 22 at the time, and I couldn't understand what was a baby, what was an embryo, a fetus. It doesn't matter, a baby. Yeah. Because when I looked in the toilet, I looked in the toilet, I didn't see a clump of cells or a blood clot. Yeah. I saw my daughter. I was almost 13 weeks pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was, I felt so betrayed. I felt so lost. And there was nothing I could do about it. It's not that I could just get her and just put inside me again. It was done. It's not interrupting the pregnancy, because when you interrupt something, you can go back in the same place that you stopped, in the same time you stopped, and you can hit the play button again. But so I wasn't interrupting anything. I was terminating forever with something. Yeah. And that was horrible. It was extremely traumatic. Yeah. I don't wish any women, I wouldn't wish an abortion for even my worst enemy on earth. Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah. And Lauren, they told me that I will be fine, but I kept bleeding and bleeding for days. And 10 days after that, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was having a severe bleeding that it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. And I felt terrible. I was running fever. The tip of my fingers were completely blue, like purple.
Ugh.
My lips were white. I had this green color shade, skin color shade, and it was just hurting really bad. It was hurting. It was burning. My inside was burning. It was on fire, like if I had a little piece of hell inside me.
Wow.
And the smell that was coming out of my body, it was horrible. It was a rotten smell. So I called all my feminist friends asking for help.
Yeah.
Help. And they said, don't worry, you are our comrade. You are our friend. Don't worry, we're going to go for you. But then I don't know what happened. They just turned their phones off. They wouldn't come, and they never came. They never showed up. I called them multiple times. I waited for over 3 hours. They wouldn't come.
Wow.
It was just terrible. The only one who actually came for me, it was my neighbor. And I used to hate him. I lived in that apartment for 6 months. And for all the 6 months, I will hate him. And why I will hate him? Because he was a white Catholic male. That's the reason. And it was that white Catholic male who got me. He actually broke my door down. He needed to kick my door down because it was locked. And he got me with his wife. He put me inside his truck. He drove me to the hospital, and he saved my life.
Wow.
And that was determined to start thinking and rethinking my life, because my feminist friends, they let me to die. And later, some years later, I talked with one of them, and I came to realize that, thank God, she's not a feminist anymore. But I came to realize the reason why they did that. They did that on purpose. They want me dead. They wanted to kill me. And the reason why I was the biggest feminist in Brazil, and I was performing an illegal abortion. And the doctor who gave me the pills, she never told me I needed a DNC. So
Wow.
I never got one, and I didn't know. So they did that on purpose. They hid that information from me, because for over 10 days, I kept with all the rests of my that baby inside me, all the rests of pregnancy, and it was just getting rotten with my body.
So you're saying
I didn't know that.
You have a belief that they did this on purpose.
Yes, they did that on purpose. They want me dead, because can you imagine how moving it will be for the whole Brazil? All the biggest feminists in this country just performed an illegal abortion. It's time to legalize, and she's dead.
Wow.
It's time to legalize that.
Oh my goodness. It's just, I mean, this movement, you can tell its aim ultimately is it leads to death, spiritually and physically, right?
Oh yeah.
Wow. So then you go to the hospital, you're brought there by your Catholic neighbors, right? Somebody that you've been taught to hate. So they save your life, but you were in the hospital for a while fighting sepsis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I lost one of my fallopian tubes.
Okay.
I got the diagnosis of infertility because it was very serious. So through 6 months, I struggle a lot with post-abortion syndrome, which, by the way, is something that the feminists will say that this is not, that doesn't exist. This is just overreacting. It's not science-based. And it is. It is. It's a post-traumatic abortion syndrome reaction that a woman that goes through all this trauma she will feel. So it was horrible, Lauren. I will have nightmares, horrible nightmares. And even when I was awake, I will hear this baby crying inside my head everywhere, in my room, at the street. It doesn't matter, on the supermarket, the grocery store. It was just horrible. I started to drink a lot. I turned to an alcoholic. I was thinking about ending my life. But God was so merciful with me that he gave me another chance. And even though I had an infertility diagnosis, I got pregnant again. Only 6 months after that, and only with one fallopian tube working.
Wow.
And of course, even nowadays, some feminists, they like to call my son a medical error, but I like to call him a little miracle, you know. His name is Hector. He is now almost 10 years old. And he is the reason why I keep sharing my testimony, because they told me the motherhood will be horrible. I loved being a mother. I never been so happy as I am right now. But, you know, we struggled a lot in the beginning because I was so excited, because my dream has always been like, I want to have a family.
Yeah.
And God, he was so merciful. He didn't let me die. He actually gave my life back, and he gave me my family. My family was growing up inside my belly, and that was so meaningful to me. And I like to say that while Hector was growing inside me, I was growing on God. So we were both growing somehow. But, you know, I quit being a feminist. I just said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. I don't want to talk to anyone anymore. I faced a huge backlash. My mom has a clothes store in Brazil. They assaulted the store. They will throw rocks, threat a lot. They threatened me a lot, my son a lot. I started to have, I was walking on the street now with bodyguards, and I didn't have any money to pay for all that, because throughout 5 years of feminist activist, I was being paid. I was being sponsored. Sponsored is not even that, I was being funded. So
yeah. Wow.
Now I didn't have funds anymore. I was going through a very big financial crisis, and I wanted to come back to the church, but it was really, really embarrassed, because for over 5 years, I was the one none in the country to speak bad about church, especially Catholicism, but whole Christianity. And I was so scared and so ashamed and so embarrassed that I just decided to record a video asking for forgiveness for whoever Christian I had offended when I was doing my practice and my speaking and all that. And the video went viral. I recorded that when my son was 29 days old. And the video went viral, and then the pro-life community that I persecuted so much for over 5 years, they were the first ones to say, we forgive you and we are here for you. So experimenting and feeling the Christian forgiveness in my own skin was one of the most incredible experiences in my life. And they gave me every single thing and detail I needed to go forward in my life. They will give me psychologist, a therapist, guidance. They gave me diapers and clothes for me and Hector, food, because I didn't have it. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything anymore. And they actually paid a year of my rent, and they said, you know what, you're kind of intelligent. We want you in college. So they put me in college, and they paid a year of my tuition, and they gave me a job. They found me a job so I could move forward. So I spent 5 years on feminism trying to help vulnerable women. I never helped any woman, and feminism just turned me into a vulnerable woman. And then in the end, Christians, the Catholic Church, the pro-life movement, they were there to rescue me from my own mistakes, from my own ideological mistakes. They were there for me. They rescued me. They helped me and my son to go forward. And now I am the one doing that. That's what I do now. I try to give my testimony, to, fund some profit for them, to help them. And they keep doing that with other women. And I was helped by pregnancy centers in Brazil. Same that we have here. Same that you have, same thing. The only thing I was with the baby, but I didn't have anything to move forward. Well, they gave me everything, including they took me for my first confession. They helped me a lot with new catechism classes because I had everything. I had all the sacraments, but I forgot everything. So even with my personal faith, they helped me with everything. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't just a pregnancy center.
Yeah. For the church, for the body of Christ, people that you used to spew vitriol at and say that you hated and fought against for years. And then those were the people to catch you on the other side. That's what's so beautiful to me. It's like, look what God did in your life and how he really was trying to reach you all those years, even in childhood, right? That he was there in the background, even when awful things happened, right? And he was always just saying, Sarah, come find your safe place in me. I'm here. I'll never leave you, right? And just the witness of God's people to show up and to show that, to show his love to you and to help heal your heart and heal what you've been through. Wow, what a testimony. Let me ask you this, Sarah, and then I want to ask you kind of a greater question about changing hearts and minds in post-Roe America, as we call it here in the United States. Right now, we're on the other side of the Roe v. Wade decision being, it's been overturned through the Dobbs decision. When we are reaching out to people in our world who are feminists, who are pro-abortion, who are hurting just like you were hurting, what's your best advice for loving them and reaching them when they are struggling and they hate Christianity, they hate the pro-life movement? What's your best advice?
I will tell that sometimes we need to know who we are speaking with, who that person is, and why. Why is the reason she or he hates so much everything that we are fighting for? And sometimes we want to win an argument only because of pride. Oh, we want to win that. We want to prove ourselves right. And we need to change this mindset of, I don't want to win this argument. I want to help to save that soul.
Yeah.
And what do we need to do? What strategies we need to go to understand why this person thinks like that? Why is this person moving and speaking like that? Try to understand a little bit more the person, the human behind that ideology. And maybe that will be a great step to just start deprogramming, with love. But also, I understand that some people are not ready for that. And I am not telling that we need to be always kind with everybody. Sometimes it depends of who you're talking to. Sometimes a very good old-fashioned humiliation, it's very, in terms of education, is always good. Like me, I needed to be humiliated by life to change. So I always tell everybody who asks me that you need to know first who you're talking to. And then when you know the reasons and why they think like that, you can start to build strategies in short, medium, and long term to talk to that person and try to make some changes.
Yeah. And what I hear you saying is, like you said so well, understand our audience. I think this is where prayer comes in because God knows best how that person can be reached, right? And it may be that life just has to hand them a dose of consequences before they're willing to turn around, right? But what I see in your story is that the constant kindness and love of the pro-life and Christian community was what eventually turned your heart, that constant presence, just like God saying, I am still here. I am here when you're ready to turn around, right? And these people saying, I am here. It's not unlike what we do with abortion workers. We don't do anything ugly. We don't do anything hateful. We just remind them that when they're ready to turn around, we are there. We're building relationship with them. We're loving them. We're encouraging them. We're building them up. And yes, sometimes even we're setting boundaries with them. Sometimes we need to call the police. Like when you use the word humiliation, that's what I hear there is like, sometimes we might need to just say, no, this is not okay. You can't just punch a hole in my signs, or you can't,
exactly
spew all this vitriol and chest bump me. We are going to call the police when that happens, but we don't let it go too far. But when they're just being ugly and they're struggling, that's an opportunity for prayer. It's an opportunity to be the witness of Christ to them.
Yes,
that's what I hear so well. What do you think, Sara, just from what you experienced in Brazil and now being here in America, how do you think we can change hearts and minds on this issue and gradually make America and the rest of the world abortion free? What's your best advice?
I will say that we need to, again, understand why people are so in favor of that. Once we understand the reasons behind it, we can build some strategies to work on that. I think the most reason, especially in women, is it's something impossible to do. Raising a child is something impossible to do. Makes women unhappy, and it can kill them. There's several reasons. And because they think it's an abomination to being a mother, so they love each other. It's like charity. They want to protect each other from a big, great evil. So I think the key is starting to deprogramming them to be so scared of pregnancy. And that needs to come with Christianity. We need to re-Christianize America. Yeah. America is too secularized, and it's time to bring Christian values again to this country, because it was the values that built up this country. And now we see the consequences of taking them out. So we need to rebuild those values, especially in young people, so the youth will understand that we need to get married first, and then having sexual intercourse, and then getting pregnant. There is an order to do that, and it's not only a Christian; it's a natural order. And if we follow that, we will be happy. So if we try to subvert that, we will be unhappy. So we need to understand male and female nature that God gave it to us. Once we understand that, we will be very prepared to pursue our happiness. The problem is, Lauren, youth have the concepts completely subverted. They like whatever is evil, they think it's good. Whatever is good, they think it's evil. The truth and the lie, the beauty and the ugly, it's so subverted, especially by the educational system, ideologies, the show business. So we need to start having children, educate these children with virtues and values, and then we will have a better generation.
That's so good. Yeah, going back to the basics, understanding that God's order, God's way is actually a mechanism to protect us, protect our hearts, protect our families, protect our futures, right? It preserves us from unnecessary pain and helps us to flourish. I think a lot of people miss that it's not that God is this big, angry judge sitting on a throne wagging his finger at us. It's actually that he loves us as image bearers, and he wants us to flourish. He wants us to have abundant life. And just like when we're driving here in America on the right side of the road, right? And there's that line in the middle. It says, don't cross it or you're going to get hit by oncoming traffic, right? It's not because God wants to take away our fun or deprive us of anything. It's actually because he wants us to have good sex someday. He wants us to have family. He wants our hearts to be protected. He wants us to actually have the best of the best. And, I think the feminist culture, it's almost like the snake in the garden that comes in and says, well, who told you that you can't eat from the tree of good and evil, of knowledge of good and evil, right? Who told you that, right? And they start whispering in a woman or family's ear and says, no, God lied to you when he told you that, right? And one lie leads to another. But it's like what I saw in your story is that you were promised all of these things, and it was actually the path that led to destruction and to death. But then God came in, and look what he did. And so beautiful. So I'm just so in awe of you, Sara. Like, I am so in awe of your story. I loved meeting you at the March for Life. I know after a handful of us from Sidewalk Advocates for Life met you, you were all that we could talk about because, I mean, what a story, what a testimony, you know? And I know that God has great plans for you and continuing to share this. We need to get this story out. And I just encourage all of you once again, if you've been moved by Sara's testimony, please help us to get this show out. It's so important. So thank you for being with us. We're going to have you on the show again and definitely have you at some of our events, but don't be silent. Keep speaking. People need to hear your story. And thank you. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for being willing to share, Sara. Appreciate you.
No, thank you so much. Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share my story. What I truly want is to tell women that it's completely possible to help women in need and other women without the need to put an ideological target right here in your head. You don't need to be a feminist. You don't need to be pro-choice or do any of this ideological things. You just need to be a good Christian. You just need to be a good Catholic. You just need to be a good person.
Keep it simple. That's right. Oh, so powerful. Thank you so much for being with us today, Sara. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, closing thought here. Scripture in Revelation says they conquered him, meaning the evil one, by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. In other words, by the blood of Jesus and by their story, their real human story. Planned Parenthood can never argue with Sara's story. The abortion industry will never be able to argue with Sara's real human story. So again, I just encourage you, please share this podcast. Please get this story out. People need to hear what God has done in Sara's life and yours too. With that, thank you all so much for joining me for another episode of the Lauren Muzyka Show. We'll be back here at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central next Friday on Facebook Live, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Thanks so much for being with me, everyone.